What if I told you that a single sentence, scrawled on a sheet of paper, buried in an envelope, never meant to be seen by public eyes, would ignite a political firestorm that no one could extinguish? That a handwritten threat, just 6 words long, would fracture the very idea of untouchable power? Not in a movie, not in a book, but on live television, in front of millions. Would you believe me? Because it happened, and everything changed. Before we dive into this storm, I want to ask you something real quick. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments. It's powerful to see how far the truth can travel. Now let me take you inside the room where it all began. Room 214 of the Rayburn House office building was cold that morning, not in temperature, but in atmosphere, like a church on the verge of confession. It wasn't the marble floors or the over-polished wood of the witness tables, or even the glow of the news cameras that made the air thick. It was something else, a kind of expectation, something unspoken. The room didn't feel like it was hosting a congressional hearing. It felt like it was about to witness a fall. She entered first. Hillary Clinton, former Secretary of State, former First Lady, a woman whose presence once commanded international treaties. She stepped into room 214 not as a guest, not even as a defendant. She walked in as if the room owed her gravity. She wore a tailored navy suit with pearl earrings shaped like stars. Her legal team followed, flanking her like a human wall. Behind them, a PR handler scanned the crowd with wide, nervous eyes. Clinton didn't look at the cameras. She didn't have to. The cameras looked at her. 12 feet away sat Senator John Neely Kennedy. No team, no entourage, no pretense. Just a single man, southern drawl in his bones, quiet fire behind his stare. His suit was wrinkled just enough to show he dressed himself. His lapel bore a silver pin, L.A. He hadn't spoken yet. He didn't need to. The nation had already heard him, not in volume, but in defiance. Chairman Mike Johnson leaned forward into his mic. "This hearing is now in session," he said, voice steady but taut. "The Committee on Oversight and Accountability will today review matters regarding campaign financial disclosures, affiliated PAC activity, and potential conflicts of interest by former federal officials." The legalese didn't fool anyone. Everyone in that room, and across the millions of television screens outside it, knew what this was really about. Hillary, and the whisper that she had finally been caught. Clinton leaned back in her chair, crossed her legs, and tapped her index finger against the edge of the table. A rhythm, measured, controlled. 2 speakers delivered their opening remarks, calculated, bureaucratic, forgettable. But Kennedy didn't move. He didn't shift, didn't blink. Then he did, deliberate, silent. He reached into the folder before him and pulled out a manila envelope, creased, slightly frayed at the corner. A red stamp sealed it closed. He opened it without drama, without speech, like a surgeon reaching for a scalpel. The room didn't understand yet, not fully. He slid the paper out, unfolded it, and placed it beneath the overhead document camera. The screen above the committee burst to life. In dark, aggressive strokes, "He's a problem. Handle it," underlined, twice. Signed, H.C. You could feel it, not hear it, feel it. A pressure drop, like when a storm is coming. The air suddenly heavier. Every breath became intentional. Clinton stared at the screen. Her pearl earring tapped against her shoulder as she turned her head. The lawyer beside her leaned forward. "Do you recognize this letter, Madam Secretary?" Kennedy asked, voice low, calm, deliberate. She didn't answer. Not with words, not yet. A journalist in the third row exhaled too fast. The sound of that breath, just air, cut the silence like a knife. Clinton's attorney leaned into his mic. "This is a fabricated piece of fiction. We deny its authenticity." Kennedy didn't respond to the lawyer. He kept his eyes on her. And then from the back of the room, a voice called out, "That's hers." Every head turned. Eleanor Finch, retired, 71. Former White House correspondence officer. She stood slowly, knees shaking, but voice steady. "I analyzed her handwriting for 23 years. I don't need a lab. That's Hillary Clinton's handwriting, no doubt." No applause, no outrage. Just the sound of truth being spoken in a room that didn't expect it. Letitia James appeared on screen next, New York's Attorney General. "That letter was submitted to our office via an anonymous whistleblower. It has been authenticated by 3 independent analysts. It matches pressure patterns, letter curvature, and signature dynamics consistent with 6 prior verified samples. Hillary Clinton wrote it. Gasps. This time louder. Clinton straightened in her chair. "This is an ambush," she said sharply. "A political smear, a setup." Kennedy let her speak. Then he spoke again. "Did you write the words, 'He's a problem, handle it'?" She stared at him. No words. But her silence was louder than any denial. Kennedy reached into his briefcase. Another folder, another red seal, another truth. The document beneath the scanner this time was a wire transfer. $8,000. From a Delaware-based PAC to a non-staffed shell company in Nassau. Then to a Dubai-based offshore bank. Then redirected to a Clinton-affiliated initiative. No payroll, no declared employees, just funds, vanishing and reappearing. Clinton snapped. "This is ridiculous, a fantasy." Kennedy looked at her, then looked to the nation. "We tracked the account, tracked the ownership, tracked the signatures. We didn't invent it. We uncovered it." Another voice joined the fray. Russell Knox. Government Accountability Office. 32 years of service. Clean record. This transfer was flagged within 20 seconds by our system. Zero payroll, zero tax declarations, no board members. Classic laundering behavior. Someone designed it that way. Clinton interjected again. "I don't even know that company." Then another envelope, another recording. Her voice, "He's trouble. Use your judgment, politically or more aggressive." Voice match, 98.7%. She tried to stand. The committee voted, motion to compel passed. She sat, not out of choice, out of order. And the nation leaned in. We haven't even scratched the surface yet. Because before this hearing ended, a widow would rise and break the heart of the room. AOC would enter and flip the story. Naomi Estrada would expose a threat that nearly got her silenced. And an 11-year-old girl in Illinois would write the sentence that turned it all into a movement. For now, we end on Kennedy. Holding up that single sheet of paper. "He's a problem. Handle it." And saying only this, "The problem, Madam Secretary, is thinking no one would ever read this aloud." He did, and everything changed. What breaks first, the lie or the silence? In the hours after the hearing ended, the footage had already circled the world. Kennedy, calm and composed. Clinton, rattled. And those words on the overhead screen burned into the public imagination like scripture carved into stone. "He's a problem. Handle it." But this wasn't over. Not even close. If the first day cracked the walls, the second would burst the dam. Let's pick up right where we left off. The sun rose over Washington with a kind of eerie calm. But inside room 214, nothing felt calm anymore. You could sense the shift. Yesterday, it was just another hearing. Today, the nation was watching with bated breath. Not for scandal, not for spectacle, but for truth. And truth was beginning to roar. Senator John Neely Kennedy walked in alone again. Same Navy suit, same silver LA pin. But this time something in his posture said the storm had arrived, and he was walking straight into it. Hillary Clinton returned too. But the energy around her had changed. Her legal team looked tense. The PR handler no longer made eye contact, and Clinton herself, still polished, still powerful. But something in her eyes had dimmed, a flicker of something unspoken. Rage, fear, maybe both. Chairman Mike Johnson banged the gavel. Session is resumed. Kennedy didn't start with fire. He started with silence. He reached for another envelope, quiet, almost delicate, as if he were holding something sacred. "Yesterday," he said, "the former secretary claimed the document we introduced was fabricated. Today, we provide forensic confirmation." A document appeared on the screen. Pressure pattern analysis, signature depth overlays, digital heat maps, side-by-side comparisons of Hillary Clinton's verified signatures. Each one matched. Clinton stared straight ahead. "Forgery," her lawyer said. "That document could have been generated by AI. We have experts ready to testify." Kennedy ignored him. "The ink," he said, tapping the screen, "is fresh. The paper was manufactured this year. The signature carries identical pressure marks and—" He paused. "The whistleblower who submitted it included audio." Gasps. He played the clip. "He's trouble. Use whatever it takes. Handle it quietly." Clinton's voice, recognizable, chilling. Suddenly, it wasn't about documents anymore, it was about orders. The lawyer erupted. "Objection! That tape is inadmissible." Chairman Johnson leaned forward. "Let's hear the rest." And then came the second voice, unidentified. "Politically or more aggressive?" "Use your judgment," Clinton replied. Clinton stood, her face flushed. "This is illegal," she shouted. "This is entrapment." But it was too late. The flood had begun. From the witness gallery, someone else stood. Elise Warren, former aide, once a loyalist, now a witness. She clutched a flash drive, her hands trembling. I was in the room, she said. She didn't know I recorded it. Another clip played. Clinton again. Use discretion, but don't let him become a problem. Voice match, 98.7%. The gallery was silent. Journalists stopped typing. Even the security guards looked shaken. Kennedy turned to Clinton. Madam Secretary, do you still claim you didn't write the letter? She didn't answer, but her silence answered everything. Then came the widow. A voice, cracked and raw, rose from the public gallery. My husband died in our home, she said. We couldn't afford an ambulance. Everyone turned. She stood trembling, somewhere in her 60s, hair graying, eyes bloodshot. We watched these hearings together. We believed someone would finally listen, but now he's gone, and I'm just alone. She looked directly at Clinton. You don't know what these policies do. You sign your name and people like my husband disappear. The chamber didn't move, not even Clinton. Kennedy slowly extended his hand to the woman, didn't say a word, just held it out. She collapsed into tears. Truth doesn't always roar. Sometimes it weeps. And then, the doors opened. A new presence walked in. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, dressed in black, calm, determined. She didn't ask permission. She didn't offer greetings. She simply walked to the front and stood next to Kennedy. Two figures, two backgrounds, one mission. I'm not here to testify, she said. I'm here to support the senator in presenting new evidence. Clinton scoffed. Perfect. A socialist tag team. What's next? Free lunch and tears. AOC didn't blink. I've cried before, she said. Usually when I watch families bury their dead because someone powerful thought budgets mattered more than lives. But today I'm not crying. I'm documenting. She handed Kennedy a sealed folder. He opened it. More financial records. More wire transfers. Signed by a now indicted executive linked directly to the shell company. Evidence. Proof. The truth had a paper trail. Then came the binder. Red seal. Office of the Inspector General. Kennedy opened it. A federal land transfer. Signed by Clinton. The recipient? A South Dakota agricultural non-profit. Except it wasn't a non-profit. It was a shell tied to a flagged foreign network. You have no right to show that, Clinton snapped. Kennedy didn't raise his voice. I have every right. Section 412B of the Oversight Mandate grants me authority to present this in public record. He paused. And besides, it's already on live television. Clinton rose from her seat. We're done here. But she didn't get far. The vote flashed on screen. Motion to compel, passed. She was no longer a former secretary. She was a compelled witness. Kennedy's voice dropped into something quieter. You don't get to walk out now. Not when the nation finally sees the mirror. Clinton froze. And in that moment, America saw what power looked like when it was cornered by its own reflection. We're not done, because what comes next will shake the country even harder. A journalist will stand up and expose the threats that almost silenced the evidence. A second recording will reveal even darker intentions. And an 11-year-old girl's letter will give the movement a name. Not a scandal, a reckoning. This was only the flood. Next up is the storm. It wasn't the document. It wasn't the wire transfer. It wasn't even the recordings. What broke the spell was the silence that followed them. A silence so complete, so absolute, it exposed everything power tried to bury. And still, it wasn't over. By the time the third hearing began, the air inside room 214 felt different. Heavier. Not just with expectation, but with consequence. No one entered without understanding what was at stake now. John Neely Kennedy arrived without a single guard. No staff, no security detail. Just a man in a blue suit carrying a black binder that had already started shifting the foundation beneath the Capitol. Hillary Clinton entered through a side door. Her smile was gone, her shoulders rigid. She spoke to no one. Even the reporters stopped shouting questions. The cameras didn't chase her. They waited. This time, it was her turn to chase the narrative. Chairman Johnson cleared his throat. This hearing will now continue, he said. But no one was listening to him anymore. Kennedy rose. There's a voice you haven't heard yet, he said, eyes fixed on the back of the gallery. From the crowd stepped Naomi Estrada, wearing a grey coat, boots caked in travel dust, and a stare that didn't flinch. I'm not here for attention, she began. I'm here because silence is deadly. She held up an envelope. I've had this for 47 days. It contains audio, authenticated handwriting, and testimony from a whistleblower who feared retaliation. I didn't release it earlier, not because I doubted the truth, but because I feared what would happen to the people who lived it. She handed it to the committee clerk, who plugged it into the overhead system. The room dimmed. The screens lit up. Clinton's voice, "Use whatever it takes. He's becoming a risk." Unknown voice, "Do you want this handled politically or—" Clinton, "Use your judgment. Quietly, make sure it doesn't come back to me." Her voice was colder this time, less strategic, more weaponized. The gallery didn't gasp. It just fell still. Everyone understood. Kennedy nodded slowly. This is what discretion sounds like when it turns to destruction. Clinton stood abruptly. "This is fake," she barked. "AI-generated, cobbled together by amateurs. I'll sue everyone in this room." But it didn't land, because Naomi didn't blink. She took a single step closer. "I've covered war zones, human trafficking rings, corrupt militaries. Nothing scared me like investigating your finances." She unfolded a note, smudged, handwritten. "Stories disappear, so can you." Her voice never cracked. "That note was taped to my apartment door, the day after I interviewed Elise Warren, and the night before I was locked out of every one of my bank accounts." Clinton scoffed. "Paranoia. Coincidence." Naomi placed the note in front of the camera. The handwriting was identical. The committee confirmed it. Kennedy stepped forward, slowly. "I've been accused of being the problem," he said. "But if asking why $8 million passed through a maze of foreign accounts makes me a problem, then maybe we need more problems." He tapped a tablet. The screen behind him displayed a detailed flowchart, bank to shell company to foundation, each step traced in red. Each arrow marked with timestamps, logins, and access points, and at the end Clinton's name, her digital signature, her device. The data didn't lie. Russell Knox returned to the stand. The Dubai transaction lasted 46 minutes. Logged in from New York, IP address linked to a secure Clinton Foundation server. The silence deepened. Then came the letter. A young girl had mailed it to Kennedy's office. He took it from his jacket pocket and held it up. Just one line. "When I grow up, I want to be a problem too." He placed it gently on the table. "I don't know this girl's name. I don't know her story, but I know she saw what we all saw, that speaking up isn't chaos, it's courage." At that moment, Clinton stood. She walked slowly toward the exit. Chairman Johnson glanced at the vote tally on his monitor. Motion to compel. Active. He tapped his mic. "Madam Secretary, you are still under subpoena. Please return to your seat." She froze. And the world saw it. That hesitation, that final crack. Kennedy didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He simply closed his binder. "You can walk out," he said softly, "but the truth doesn't walk with you." The gallery didn't cheer. It breathed, a long exhale of pain, of vindication. AOC stood beside Kennedy once more. "This isn't the end," she said. "This is the start of reckoning, one that no amount of denial can erase." The final clip played. Clinton's voice again, but this time not angry. Just tired. If he keeps pushing, they'll come after him. Hard. The room sat in stunned silence. Then Chairman Johnson spoke. "We move to authorize a formal investigation into financial misconduct, witness intimidation, and abuse of power." Votes flipped green. Motion passed. Clinton sat back down. Not to fight, not to plead, just to sit. She understood now. The truth wasn't hers to control. It belonged to the people, and they had spoken. Outside, as Kennedy left the building, a small crowd had gathered. Not to protest, not to praise, just to watch. A woman stepped forward, holding a candle. "For my brother," she said. "He died without insurance. They denied him coverage the same week your name was on a new PAC file." Kennedy looked her in the eye. "I can't fix the past," he said, "but I won't stop telling it." And he didn't. In Louisiana, a mural went up. It showed Kennedy, binder in one hand, microphone in the other. Below him, 5 words in spray-painted script. "If I'm the problem, good." That clip reached 100 million views in 5 days. No narration, no commentary, just the truth. And in the end, that was louder than power, because power signs the order. But silence signs the disappearance. And one senator decided to break it. So now we ask you, will you?